Hey everyone, Tactics here, and with the revamped Horrific Visions launching shortly, I figured I'd throw together an all-encompassing video just going through everything that you need to know, including what they actually are if you're not familiar, what rewards you can pick up by participating, both new and old, as well as just some general tips and tricks that will help make progressing through them a bit easier for you. As always, there will be chapters down below, so feel free to jump around as needed. And let's just start on what exactly are visions? If you are someone that did these back in the Nyalotha patch of BFA, they're essentially the same thing as they were then with some minor additions. For someone new, though, basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head over to here in Dornagal to actually get started. It's actually on the map here as well with some this horn on the map. You should get a breadcrumb quest as well. And this is where the hub of the new visions is going to be, and this lets you queue up for visions using this portal, and all the various vendors are here as well. After you've set it all up with that quick intro quest, you can just hop right into it. You can queue as often or as little as you want. It doesn't require a currency. There's no restrictions whatsoever. You just click on this button and you enter the vision. The only thing to keep in mind is that there are two possible visions you can get, either the vision of Orgrimmar or Stormwind, and they do rotate weekly. So if you need some stuff from the Stormwind vision, you have to come back after the reset and then go into the Stormwind vision, and vice versa. If you're wanting to do stuff in Orgrimmar, but it's the Stormwind week, you have to wait for the next week before you can do anything in Orgrimmar. They just rotate. Now, what exactly are these visions again? Let's just hop in here real quick. Essentially, they're scenarios. You can do them solo. You can do them in a group. And they're basically versions of, again, either Orgrimmar or Stormwind that have been corrupted by N'Zoth. There's a new thing actually for solo players. There's this bronze hourglass here, and you're able to get a companion in Soradormi. And similar to Bran, you can do, hey, do you want to be a tank, a healer, or do damage dealer? So a little companion if you're a solo player. But as for the visions themselves, basically there's various objectives that you can do. You can defeat mini bosses, you can pick up treasures, and it all ends with a boss fight at the end here. So in Orgrimmar, you're taking on Thrall. Essentially, your whole goal here is to pick up these corrupted mementos as a currency, and that's what you kind of use to, buy the mounts, pets, transmog, gear, that kind of stuff. And this currency is warband transferable as well, which is a bit convenient. Now, it is a bit more complicated than just the stuff I mentioned, because you actually also have to manage a resource here called sanity, which kind of constantly ticks down as you're in the various areas of the vision. And there's a bunch of different ways for you to either gain this back or lose it if you get hit by certain abilities. So be aware of that. Now, the visions themselves are broken up into 5 different sections. You have this original general section here, which has minor sanity draining, and also that's where the final boss is. It's in the first section. Then you have 2 minor sections over here. There's the Dragon Orgrimmar and the Valley of Spirits. This has moderate sanity drain, and then you also have to complete an objective in this area before fighting a mini boss. And then you have the 2 major areas which have pretty heavy sanity drains. You can see it's gone up quite a bit, and again you complete objectives in this area, ending with a final boss fight. Again, that sanity drain is very important because you also just die if your sanity runs out. So you need to make sure you are surviving with your health bar, but also surviving with your sanity bar. Now, you also probably noticed there's a little madness down there. These are essentially affixes that are active while you're in this zone. So in this first area, you periodically strike those nearby for damage, healing you for 1% of your health per strike. The mobs will do that. Periodically find yourself surrounded by fearful mirror images. If you touch them, you get disoriented. So various things that you just need to deal with while you're in these other zones. So something to keep in mind for that as well. Now, the more objectives you complete, the more mementos you're going to be getting at the end of the vision, but you don't actually need to do all of them. That's why the boss is in this last area. So if you're low on sanity, if you're early on in your vision progression, you don't need to do a full clear of every single thing. You can do as much as you can, head back to the last boss, and just defeat them, and you'll get mementos based on what you've done. Also, something to note is whenever you do complete one of these objectives in these side zones, it actually gives one of the mini bosses powers to the final boss as well. So it makes them a bit harder, so something to be aware of there. Now, base visions themselves are actually not too difficult, and so they've actually implemented a system where you can essentially juice up these visions and make them much harder in order to gain significantly more mementos, and that's with the kind of mask system. I'll talk about that a little bit later on with the tips and tricks. So instead, let's talk about question number 2. What are the rewards? Why am I doing this? First and foremost, there is actually a bit of player power tied to that, and that's with the corruption helmet enchants. This is over here on Augur Moo. Open them up. I only have the lesser ones unlocked right now. And essentially, these are corruption effects, but they're not quite corruption as you know them. They're much weaker. Think of them about like 2% throughput increases kind of across the board. I think most people are going to be running Void Ritual as well, which is just stats and stuff. So a little boring, but it is player power nonetheless. Something to note, it also is only going to be usable in Season 2. So if you look at that last paragraph there, looks like this is not going to be something you're going to need to get on all of your characters going into Season 3, because it's just not going to function there, which is nice. It's like a little boost for the current patch, but not something you need to worry about going forward into the future. There is an unlock system, as I mentioned, right? You can't just get these right away. You have to do a bit of the visions themselves, but it's fairly short, maybe like 10 runs to actually unlock the greater version of these, and only like a couple runs to actually unlock these lesser versions. So it's not really a huge time commitment, and they are also warband bound. There we go. And so you can just buy this on a character and trade it to whoever you want out of any of your characters. Outside of the enchants, I think the main purpose is going to be for alt gearing. Mr. GM actually has a pretty good tweet here breaking down the different eye levels that drop from the visions based on how many of the bosses you kill inside, and also how many masks you have active. And the big thing to see here is that you can get 2 pieces of hero gear from this on a weekly basis. These drops are weekly basis, so you can't just spam this for hero gear, but you can get a 4 out of 8 piece and a 2 out of 8 piece on your character every single week, which is pretty nice, as well as 4 champion track pieces per week, and also just a way to kind of spam out gilded crests as a solo player if you don't want to do delves, which is also nice. Now on top of this, there's also an item on these vendors over here where you can actually create warbound gear. So basically, if you buy this item on this vendor, which requires you to have completed the entire vision with 1 mask active, it makes every single veteran drop from visions warbound. No matter what, every single veteran drop is going to be warbound. Similarly, if you do a 5 mask run, you can now buy this item, which makes every single champion track piece you get from visions warbound. So essentially, those 4 champion pieces, if you unlock this, they're going to be 4 warbound champion pieces. So again, pretty nice for alt gearing. If you have any characters, you buy if you do this on your main for a few weeks or whatever, by the time you get to the end of the season, you're going to be able to juice up characters with champion track gear, which is definitely very nice for alt catch up. Now, these same vendors actually also just straight up sell weapons with the same restrictions. So if you want a champion weapon, you need to have done a 1 mask run. And if you want a hero weapon, again, you just straight up buy a hero weapon. It does require you to have done a 5 mask run, and these do require those same mementos that I was talking about you earning from the visions themselves. Outside of gear, there's also a cosmetic vendor over here. He's got some of the old stuff. I believe like the black backpack is old. This mount is old from the old visions, but they've also got some brand new mounts. This is a pretty sick dragon mount, a similar pet. They've got a recolor of the backpack in a different color, and then they also have full gear recolors of the Mythic Nyalotha set. So unused colorings of the Mythic Nyalotha sets for you to earn as well, which is pretty nice. So if you're a collector, you'll definitely want to pick these up. From here, let's get into the details of visions. Where to start, we can talk about a few different ways you can empower your character, and then we'll talk about how to actually empower the visions themselves. The biggest boost by far is the talent tree, which you can access by clicking on this hourglass here. And essentially, you spend mementos with Augur Moo. You can see that get a scaling cost, so it gets higher and higher, and that purchases a talent point, which you can kind of put in this tree to do various effects like reduce your damage taken and increase damage done. You can reduce the effect of sanity drain on you. You can increase your overall sanity, and there's also little buffs here, like the chance to make your sanity loss not happen for 20 seconds, and you gain a bunch of haste and move speed. There's like a cheat death. There's an active effect that gives you sanity back. So a lot of different stuff you unlock from this tree that basically just makes it easier for you to survive in terms of sanity inside those visions. And the other thing, these points are account wide, so when you purchase them on one character, they go to all your characters, and so does the increase in cost. So you can't cheese it that way, but very nice. If you're coming in as a fresh alt going to visions and you've already filled out this tree, that fresh alt is going to feel real powerful in terms of their sanity in visions, which is definitely nice. Now, the other way to buff yourself up is something called tributes. Let's go back to the vision and check them out. I believe this is a new system with the revamp of visions here, but essentially these are these things you build towards, again, account wide, with these progress bars, and these ticks show the level of buff you have. So level 1, level 2, and then level 3 once you achieve this. And they all have different things. So for this one example, experimental destabilization, if I kill bosses in this vision, it fills this bar. And one of the buffs here is going to be that. Here it is, the experimental destabilization. It's just giving me damage done. So there's a few different ways to do that. This one's like, there's a killing elites here, there's killing regular mobs, and then there's opening treasures. And this actually, if you open potions and crystals, which are some of the treasures, it actually allows you to see more treasure chests in the vision. So this is one to keep in mind for future on. I'm going to refer to that later on in the video. So just another way for you to actually boost yourself up. And again, account-wide unlocks, very convenient. You'll share progress between all of your characters. Now let's talk about masks, which is a way to actually buff up the entire vision. For each active mask, it's a 25% damage and health increase on the vision, but it also increases all your memento gains by 20%. On top of that, though, each of the 8 different masks that are available has its own unique affix that it also applies to the vision, and some of these are much harder to deal with than others. So we're going to talk about my recommendations of, if you're trying to get the easiest 1 mask, the easiest 5 mask run, which masks should you use? As to why you'd actually activate it outside of the memento gain, as you mentioned earlier, completing visions with that 1 mask and 5 mask gives you access to new things on the gear vendor. And there's also achievements tied to like 6, 7, 8 masks as well if you just want bragging rights. In terms of unlocking these masks, each one requires you to do something entirely different. So let's walk through those requirements here. This will be linked down in the description as well, by the way, if you want to reference that for yourself. But basically, there's the 5 original masks from BFA and then 3 new ones, which totals the 8 I talked about. You've got the Long Night, which is going to be the first one everyone unlocks because it's just completed by doing a full vision. You complete all the objectives. Once you do that for the first time, you will get the Long Night mask. And this actually reduces your sanity by 50%, making it one of the harder masks to actually use. We'll talk about strategy in a second here, but that is something to note. So first mask, one of the hardest ones as well. Then you've got a Burned Bridge with at least 1 mask active. Successfully complete the Valley of Wisdom in Orgrimmar. So this is one of the major zones in Orgrimmar, and this one just leaves behind void zones for around 10 seconds whenever you move, and if you stand in those, it drains your sanity. If you complete the other major zone in Orgrimmar, you get the Daredevil mask again with mask active, so you need 1 mask active before you can unlock any of these. And the Daredevil one just increases the sanity damage that creatures do by 400%. So if you get hit by an ability that is avoidable, it'll reduce your sanity, and now that is 4x'd if this mask is active. Pained and Dark Imagination, similar. If you do the major zones in Stormwind with a mask active, you'll get these. For Pained, it makes all the affixes and zones, those madness effects, have 2 instead of 1. So some of these are actually quite easy to deal with, whereas others are a bit of a pain. So it kind of depends on what RNG on the madnesses are that week. And then Dark Imagination here, it's when you have less than 50% sanity, you will occasionally spawn an ad that attacks you. So something to be aware of, where if you have really high sanity with all those talents, Dark Imagination is actually pretty easy to deal with, especially if you have the sanity decay reduction and stuff like that. But if you're early on, this can be a bit more frequent, which can make it a bit annoying. Then we have the new ones. So you've got the Mask of Vengeance here with 1 mask active. Again, loot the Faceless Mask of Vengeance, being revered by a group of Void Speakers in the canals of Stormwind. So basically, there's this group of mobs just hanging out in Stormwind. You have to go kill them and then pick up this mask from the ground, apparently. There's the Mask of the Nemesis, where you need to defeat both Gammon in a part of Orgrimmar and then Hogger in a part of Stormwind, and then combine their shards. So it's going to take you 2 weeks to actually get this one. Then you have Multitudes, which is pretty straightforward. If you just do a 3 mask run, you'll get this mask. Because in terms of what they do, Vengeance is essentially bolstering. When you kill an enemy, it gives a 20-second buff to all nearby enemies, increasing their damage by 15%. So that can be quite hard on bigger pulls. Nemesis actually spawns an elite mob every 25 kills in a vision, so it's going to slow you down a bit, but it will proc actually the elite extermination trait, which gives you back some sanity, so that's actually has a positive tied to it as well. And then the Mask of Multitudes is kind of like the old teaming affix in Mythic Plus, so you're going to get a lot more mobs that spawn in the vision when this mask is active. In terms of strategy here, as I said, you're always going to get the face of the long night first, and this is one of the harder ones. So what you're going to want to do as soon as you unlock this mask is you're going to want to make a beeline for any of the major zones to get any other mask, essentially. Just get any other mask you can get, and then you can activate that one, and that's going to be much, much easier to do one mask stuff on from then on. In terms of what I actually think is the easiest for one mask run, I actually think it's probably one of these ones. If Daredevil is kind of my recommended. It does make it so that you are punished by not avoiding stuff, which means Mask of the Pained can be easier if the manuses are not super difficult, and if you have a lot of talent trees, Dark Imagination. But really, any of these four are probably your best options in terms of doing one mask run easily. When it comes to a 5 mask run, obviously you have a little less choice. I would recommend all 4 of these. Do not put on Long Night, and then I would actually put on the Mask of the Nemesis if you have it, because this is going to, like I said, actually have a positive upside, assuming you do not get hit by any of the sanity breaker abilities from the elite that spawns, right? Because it's going to be 400% amped by that Daredevil mask that you also have active. So assuming you're able to actually avoid the abilities from this elite, it'll slow you down a bit, but it will also give you some sanity back from this mob. So I think those 5 masks, this one, and then these 4 here, are the best option to actually do a 5 mask run. Now, last thing I wanted to quickly talk about are the treasures you can find within the visions, and those can be collected to gain additional mementos. They grant small buffs, though with potential negative downsides, or they can even steal or give you back sanity. So for help tracking them, there's actually this great plugin for Handynotes. I can /vision, which is where these things are popping up. That's called the Horrific Vision Helper, made by ZamestoTV. I'll link that down below as well. But it'll pop up these boxes, which help you to keep track of the treasures. And they also put some new secrets on the map, I believe. Yeah, like there's like certain new drops, certain things you can pick up, all put on the map thanks to the Handynotes plugin here. So make sure you pick that up if you want these things. Essentially, there are 3 types of treasures you can pick up. There's chests. Those are the big ones. They grant you a big sum of mementos, and that actually scales with the number of masks active. So if you have 5 masks active, those chests are going to grant you 100% more mementos than they otherwise would. And again, the chests are based on your clear sight buff. So you will see more chests the higher stacks of clear sight you actually have. So that is something to also keep in mind. You won't have all of these chests available right away. You'll slowly gain access to them. Second off, there are crystals. These are always there, of course, and there's 2 in each area of the vision, and you can trade these into an ethereal guy for a flat amount of mementos. So as you start to push up mask count, this becomes less valuable because the mementos gained here does not scale with the masks you have active. Finally, there are 5 different colors of potions listed here. The colors of potions, they'll give small buffs. 3 of them will give small buffs, which have a downside if they ever expire. One of them is going to straight up give you sanity, and one of them is going to straight up take away sanity. Now let's start with the potions themselves here, actually, because they're I guess the most complicated of the buffs. Basically, the potion what the potions do in general is variable depending on the actual run. Every single run is going to be variable, so let's actually go in here, because there is a way to figure it out without just randomly drinking the first potion you see, and this little thing from the Vision Helper is going to help with that. So in Orgrimmar, it's a little bit off to the side here, but on Stormwind, basically you'll come in and it's like to the right. There's going to be a dead body and a note. In Orgrimmar, it's a little bit over to the side here, getting hit by mobs. But basically in this room, what you're going to see is a note and a potion. The potion next to the note is always the potion that drains your sanity. And so if you just click it here, if I click blue, it sets this as the poison, and then it tells me what every other one does. So now I know that the purple potions are going to give me sanity, the red potions are going to give me the fire breath buff, green's going to give me the healing buff, and the black one is going to give me the damage reduction buff. As for the size of these buffs, they're useful. They're not mandatory. They're not huge. They're actually pretty small. On the first drink, they'll give you a 5-minute buff. And then on the, yeah, here, I can grab one here. It's a red one. It's going to give me a 5-minute buff when I drink this. There it is. But if you drink another one before this expires, it automatically refreshes this buff up to 15 seconds, which essentially allows you to pretty easily ignore the downside, which in this case is if this ever expires, you catch fire for a short time. So, you know, they all have some downsides if they expire, but you can, if you get 2 of them back to back or fast enough within 5 minutes, basically never need to worry about the expiration effect, which is nice. But also, the gains from these potions are not huge, so if you really want to, you can just ignore them. It's not a big deal. Then we have crystals. So when it comes to crystals, there's an ethereal in each zone. Here's the guy in Orgrimmar in the original zone. This is what the crystals look like. There's 2 of these per area of the map, so 10 total. And then once you're done, you collect as many as you want to collect in. You talk to this guy, you hand them into him, he'll leave, he'll drop a treasure chest, and you can just loot that for the mementos you gained from handing in its crystals. Similar guy again in Stormwind off, I think on the left in that house, but it should be on Wowhead as well. Can't show you unfortunately because Stormwind is not active this week. But that is the treasures, and like I said, you probably saw some of the purple treasure chests around as well. I have them unlocked, but you initially probably won't be able to see some of them in some of the zones, so keep that in mind. But there we have it, guys. That is everything I have to tell you about Visions, the general tips and tricks. If you guys are interested in maybe like an 8-mask walkthrough run, I could maybe put those out for Stormwind and Orgrimmar just to discuss the actual strategy of doing the Visions with those masks all active. But let me know if you're interested, and of course, if you have any questions at all, please leave those down in the comments as well, and I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, thanks everyone so much for watching. Shout out to all my amazing Patreons for their continued support, and I'll see everyone in the next video.